Well, welcome along to the Sky F1 Vodcast. This is episode 10. No Simon today, but I am joined by Martin Brundle, David Croft and Gunther Steiner. So hello to all of you chaps. I'm going to start quick word, Martin and Crofty first. What have you been up to? Martin, how have you been filling your days?
I've been really busy actually making Sky content, which I've been enjoying. I've done my second at home at Sky F1, which I think has gone out now. And we look back at the 1999 European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring with its winner, Mr. Johnny Herbert, which was a lot of fun actually. So plenty of Sky content and just generally everything around my house shines basically, and a good chance to clear the mind, clear the files, sort things out, because I'm hoping it's going to get super busy mid-year on.
We had quite an historic moment on Saturday afternoon. My hair just got a little bit too long. So I allowed Laura, my other half, to actually cut my hair. First time in 20 years, someone other than Susie, who's my usual barber, has cut my hair. So it was quite a worrying moment, but she's actually not done a bad job, to be fair. So thank you very much, Laura, for that. We had a brilliant look back at the European Grand Prix. You don't miss the watch along with Johnny and Martin and Ted and myself. It was a lot of fun to record. And yes, another at home with, this time, Rachel, featuring added sausage rolls. Not only have we looked back at a few more features that I was in for Sky Sports F1, but it's Cook Along with Crofty. I make sausage rolls whilst we look back at the features.
I cannot wait. Cannot wait. Yeah. Yes, all done. Another at home with. They'll be going out this week. Keep an eye out for those. But Gunther, I'm very pleased to have you along this afternoon. Gunther, what have you been getting up to? First of all, where are you at the moment?
Hello, everybody. I'm in North Carolina in the moment. I got straight back from Australia on Saturday of Australia, and I'm here since then. But as strange as it sounds, we are quite busy in the moment, or I'm quite busy in the moment, and not cutting hair and making sausage rolls, and Martin cleaning up his files. As you may notice, there's a lot of things going on in F1, budget cut, but also these are difficult situations for the teams, for our team, but also the other ones. There is a lot of being done because the financial aspect is changing on a daily basis. You know, if we don't race, we get a lot less money, and we need to prepare for that so we can take the team forward. So there's a lot going on there. Just try to manage it. Hopefully we just get away with bruises with no real harm. So I mean, that is what I'm doing all day long. But on the other side, sometimes in the afternoon when because I'm in the States, obviously I'm 5 hours behind you. So when you guys are asleep, I got a little bit of time off because the main part of our team is in the UK. So I need to speak a lot with them. But it has been quite busy. But on the other side, I also do some little jobs. I haven't been at home this long for a long, long time now.
Yeah, before we come to all the F1 side of things, just on a personal level, on a practical level, you've got your wife and daughter with you, I assume. How are you all getting along, and what sort of restrictions have you got there compared to us?
Yeah, they are with me, both of them. My daughter, obviously, the school has been cancelled. So I think in the moment there's still a plan that she goes back I think it's on the 14th for a week, but I think that will not happen. So no, they're doing school via video conferencing. So at least it's going on like this. But no, everything is fine here. I mean, you get used to it, to each other again after so long time away. But otherwise, we just try to spend our time cooking together and trying to spend some time when we have it. As Martin said, I think we are going into a very busy second half of the season, which on one side it's very good for us, but we need to get prepared for it, and we need to be conscious of this.
It's not like an afternoon with Kevin Magnussen then in the Gunther Steiner household. You've not been kicking doors in yet then. You're quite calm at the moment.
Not yet. You said the right word, yet. No, I try to avoid that at home, otherwise you have to pick me up at the sheriff's office here, and that's not good here.
Gunther, there must be a Formula One budget in your swear box at home already, I would imagine, isn't there? Do you have one of those? You put $1 in every time you swear?
I mean, how many times did I swear, Martin? You know me. I can be quite behaved when I want to.
Your starring role on Netflix,
That is when the emotions get away with me, on the race. That is when I get excited about. No, but otherwise I'm pretty calm. I just try to do my job.
Was that the real you we saw then, Gunther? We saw lots of you at home in the latest series, that Netflix series. But when we saw you around the track, I mean, they've certainly latched on to your character. Do you think that's in any way exaggerated?
I mean, I don't think it's exaggerated. For me, when I go to racing, there is you've got a different person there, because I mean, a lot of people say I'm so different and you make it up. No, I don't make it up. But when I go racing, I get, this is why I like it. I mean, and then I'm pretty calm normally. I mean, I think what I've got, I have nothing in between. You know, it's either on or off. You know, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I cannot change that. I'm too old for that to change. You see. So it's no point. I mean, until I get trained to change, then the career is gone anyway. So I keep it like this and try to deal with it.
We learned you don't like your door being slammed, certainly on this series.
Yeah, I mean, that for me, it's something like, it's very strange. I mean, if somebody slams the door, it means he doesn't want to come back. I mean, that is, I don't know how it is. So, and if you want to tell me that, I mean, you can say it to me. You don't need to slam the door, you know. So you better don't slam my door.
Well, Roman slammed it and he's still with you, so we assume the relationship's rebuilt. Are you keeping in touch with them, and what's it like? I mean, how is the communication going during this time between you and the drivers? Do you know what they're up to?
Yes, I know. I actually spoke with both of them over the weekend. I normally try to call them on the weekends because they've got a little bit more time than during the week. I said I'm pretty busy. So Kevin is on his sailing boat somewhere on the Swedish coast. And Romain is at home because he has got 3 children, and he's happy because I think he told me that the children go back to school pretty soon in Switzerland. So he's happy about that one, because he explained that because if the children don't go to school, nobody can go to work, obviously. Because but having 3 kids at home at the age his ones are, I'm not buying him, you know, for that one. So, but no, they are staying well, and we normally speak once a week, you know, just updating, and I let them know what I know about. When we start again, and just communicate with them, but once a week, that is, and the relationship is good, you know. It's like we speak 15-20 minutes, and then if nothing important comes along, I just keep them updated.
I have to say, Gunther, I was really impressed with the way in the documentary you allowed you allowed the access and the behind the scenes access, so we could actually get a taste of your managerial style. Because we all know you as a fairly laid-back, kind of easygoing sort of guy, but when the tough decisions need to be made or the tough conversations need to be had, you seem to be very, very prepared to do that. And I thought it was absolutely fascinating to see how tough you got with the 2 drivers and how you completely ran out of patience. I was then stunned that you hired them both again for this season. But it was a great insight into a way that a team principle operates that we don't always get to see in Formula One. Do you find it easy to be that tough and that stern with drivers when you need to be?
Absolutely. I think it's part of my job. And what I have to say, I'm fortunate that we are a small team. Gene Haas is very open to it. I mean, if you work for a big corporate, you couldn't be like this. I know that. But I've got quite a bit of freedom on that side, you know, and I just try. I'm very honest in it, and as I always say, they always say, "Oh, it's such a big job to do this for Netflix." For me, it's no job. I put my mic on and then I go. I mean, I do my job, and that is, I think, what they want. If I don't think I could be a good actor, or would be a good actor, so I don't even try to do that one. If there is something which is too much, I mean, you all know. Stuart, our PR guy, he then has to evaluate it, where the limit is, and I think he finds it pretty tough sometimes to see where the limit is, what to take out and what not. But he knows me very well. He knows Haas, he knows Gene very well, so he knows where the line is. So again, for me, it's like I just do my job, and then I don't act different if I've got a mic on or not. And that is also one of the reasons why I'm not pushing to see the episodes, because maybe I would then think different, because I'm sure I wouldn't like to see me somehow I react, which on one side I could be learning something to behave better. But then again, this is part of my character, of my personality, more than character. So why should I change? I think it works. And if there's something we're taking out, somebody will tell Netflix to do it.
So, Gunther, we know you've all been on various devices, connecting with the other team principals over the last few weeks. What's the latest? What are the politics? What's happening with the budget cap? And when are we going to get racing again, and where?
I think let's start with the good things, which is when we go racing again, because that is the most important thing what we have to do, because it's important to have a positive outlook, light at the end of the tunnel. I hope, I cannot confirm it or anything, but I hope Austria, the Austrian government gives us the go-ahead and we come up with good enough ideas that we protect the people in Austria and ourselves, that we don't spread it or that we don't get it. So they are working hard on it. We as a team try to work on it. I've got actually a meeting later today with my racing guys, with the team manager, and to see how many people we can leave at home work, because that is less people you have, less risk you carry. So we are trying to do a good job there, a diligent job there, being responsible, and we really try to think it through so we can go racing, because we need to give them a reason why we are not dangerous. I mean, dangerous by spreading the disease, obviously, dangerous. So we need to help with that, and I hope that we can get in July racing again. I read the news this morning. Austria is doing pretty well. There is not spreading anymore, but again, they don't want us in there to get it going again. So we need to make sure that we help. But hopefully it is Austria, and then I don't know exactly what is happening in the moment with Silverstone, but that's a chance as well. Always behind closed door, obviously. We cannot have spectators in the moment, and I think everybody appreciates that. But F1 is anyway, the high majority is watched on TV anyway, so that shouldn't be, for sure, it's not nice to race in front of empty grandstands, but if we need to do it, we're going to do it. So that's on the racing update. And then I think in August, hopefully the world is a better place again, or a good place again, and we go back to a little bit of a normal schedule, even without people first in Europe. But I hope that something will be announced in the next 3 to 4 weeks officially, so we all really can work towards it. I think a lot of us are just wanting to go back to work, and also we need to go back to work. So we have got a job, all of us. And I'm not speaking about me. There's thousands of people involved in this business, as you all know, and they all need to make a living, and it's difficult if you don't put a show on, if you don't have a product there. We cannot make a living. Back to the other question, budget cap. Obviously, as you said, there is quite meetings almost every week now, or at least once a week with FIA, FM. They are pretty good meetings. They're well behaved on. We use the same system as we are using here. So it works very well. Everybody's at home, very diligent. And I think we should have a solution to the budget cap soon. That is what the president obviously wants to go for, Mr. Todd. So we have a secure future, and hopefully we've got all teams around in the years to come. Because in the moment, I think we've got 10 strong teams in F1, and we should try to preserve them or help as much as possible to keep them going. So as always, there are politics played as well. Who wants more, who wants less, and somewhere there needs to be found the middle ground. And in my opinion, we are very close to finding this middle ground.
Gunther, just to pick up a couple of things you said there. First of all, when we do go racing again, when we had Zach Brown on, he said he thinks they'll need to be back in the factory for maybe 5 weeks before they can go racing. I guess if it's a race that's abroad, you'd add another week for travel and everything else onto that. How quickly could you get going again? Should they say, right, lockdown's over? How soon could you be ready for a race?
About the same. It's 4 to 5 weeks, because the stuff from Australia, it was just unloaded. There was not worked. We didn't work on the cars because we were some of the first ones to take the shutdown with Ferrari, because we have got a facility or company in Italy which was shut down by the government. So we decided to shut down early. So we just unloaded all the crates, opened them up so air goes to it, nothing rots or no humidity is in, and then we need to start from new. So I would say 5 weeks we need to get the cars ready, everything ready, and then until people get again I would say in the game, because sometimes it takes a little bit in the beginning, because if you have been off 2 months or almost 3 months when we get going again, there is some teething problems. So we need to get over them as well to make sure that we are 100% prepared when we go back to racing.
Take us inside these meetings, Gunther. I know you can't reveal everything that's being said, but who are on these calls? How many? Is it every team principal, and who's there from Liberty and the FIA? Are you finding ways to agree with each other? Is it a majority, or is there a split opinion on when we should go racing and where we should go racing? And most importantly, we all want to see F1 come back as soon as is possible, I'm sure. But what's driving the return to F1 and the timeline? Is it the fact that we all want to see sport and we all want to enjoy sport, or is it that some teams need to go racing as soon as is humanly possible because they fear for their future? Is it a money thing, or is it a return to sport thing that's driving the timeline?
Well, there's a lot of questions, Croft. I mean, I needed to write them down, you know.
Well, you should have done that.
I start with who is in the meeting. All the 10 team principals are in there, and sometimes the owner is there as well. But FOM, I mean, Chase is there, Ross is there, FIA, the technical people are there. Nicolas Tombasis, the president, is there, Jean Todt, and there's quite a lot of people. It's about 25 people. I counted them last time, so everybody is there, and they are held very well. They are very disciplined, and there is not one way to agree. These meetings are more like to exchange opinions, to discuss it. And as you well know, we are pretty good in discussing our own corner, you know. So they sometimes drag on a little bit until somebody gets a grip of it, but there's an agenda set, and we go through the items pretty disciplined. So it's like there is no big decisions taken. And back to the calendar, we are actually not discussing the calendar big style, because that's not our job, or the team principal. I speak now for the team principals. That is the job of FOM, which is in touch with and we gave them the authority to, you do what you need to do, because, I mean, if we get involved in organizing races, I don't think it gets far, you know, so, because we couldn't agree on anything anyway. So FOM is doing a good job, but I think their problem, the biggest one, is there is no set timeline for the virus to stop, to come. Every country is different. I mean, they need to speak with the governments, and governments, obviously, they are very careful now, because it goes into their politics, you know, in the big politics, not in our little politics, you know. So what the prime ministers are doing, and who is doing what. So I think it's very difficult for FOM in the moment to deal with, and it's a big job, but I think they try to get the best out of it. And then to your last question, to go back racing, it's just like, and I think you guys are long in racing. If that is what you like to do, that is why you work for. I mean, you prepare yourself, and you can prepare yourself as much as you can. But there is a lot easier jobs in life than going racing if you don't enjoy racing. You could never do it without racing. So that is the thing. We all want to go, I think, or 90% of people which work in F1, I would say that is what they like, to go out on a Friday to see how the car is going, what is happening on a Saturday qualifying, and then you go to the race. That is why we have got this passion. I think it's a passion thing, and that sure, we need the money as well, but for some people it would be easy to sit at home as well and get some money, you know, doing nothing, but still your internal wants to, I need to have some positive thing to aim for, you know. I just cannot sit here and try to organize and reorganize and rediscuss things. We need to go races to do racing. We need to have a goal.
Gunther, can I ask you, just on those calls you do, sorry Mark, I'll come to you for a sec. Who's got the best house? Who's got the best home office when you do those video calls?
I don't want to comment on this, because otherwise I've got all the other ones telling me, why didn't you tell it was my house? You know, you see,
spill the beans, spill the beans.
It's just between us.
Yeah, or just between us and all the other people which watch you, which I think in this time is quite a few.
Sorry, Mark, you were going to come in there.
Yeah, good. I mean, you're obviously having a meeting exactly like we're making this vodcast at the moment, in completely different locations. I imagine where there's an alignment with manufacturers, for example, or midfield teams, you're all texting, WhatsApping each other, which you can't do in a normal meeting. I imagine there's, you know, some kind of subplot going on at the same time as you're looking into, you know, checking out your need for a haircut into the picture.
Are you stalking? Are you looking into the cell phones? You know, that's from we all have got our cell phone just beside us. You know?
I just know you guys. You are WhatsApping each, you know, you are people you're aligned with all the time. Don't say this, say that. Can you believe he just said that? Or I don't know, give us the lowdown, give us the dirty side of that.
I think, you know, I mean, I think you are there sometimes, Martin, and you must get some of them. Sure, we do it. I mean, these days we all do it, and sometimes they are not malicious or anything. They're just a little bit of a joke, you know. So if you're in a meeting of 3.5 hours, or sometimes it's just like you've got a second tool to influence the meeting, you know, and you do it. And I guess you guys do that one as well, because you know too much about it, Martin. So a little joke. Did he really say that? But one thing I want to go back, we sometimes even do that when we are physically at the meeting, you know. So we are well trained, you know. So it's like when you see somebody and you send him something, and you look at him, you get the smile, you know. So yeah, we are all. I think we are all grown-up children sometimes. So.
Guenther, I know that very well. I'm surrounded by them.
When this all comes to an end, and when we can get back to some sense of normality, do you hope that Formula One and your team principals meetings and the decisions that are made can take on a new lease of life, Gunther, and that people learn from this situation and realise that actually we've all got to look after each other a little bit here. And the days in Formula One of spending to annihilate the opposition have got to stop, and the sport needs to protect itself from within for the future. Do you actually see a different approach from your fellow team principals, or do you fear that as soon as we go racing, we're just going to get back to the way it used to be?
I would say it is, with what is happening, I think we will not go back to the old days like it was, because we got a wake-up call. Otherwise, I would say, yeah, sure, people will want to go back to just spend as much as you can. You know, I think we all got hit pretty hard, and I say all of us, some harder than other ones, but I think we all got hit by reality. I mean, we experienced it in, I think it was 2009, when a lot of people, teams went away, and it was waited too long. I think in the moment, the FIA is doing a good job to say, don't let it go this far that we have to regroup and then let it go away again. Because we have got the budget cap now in place. That was never there before. And it was pretty good. Is Martin texting you something? I don't like that, you know. So anyway.
Martin's just texted me to say, budget cap, $150 million. Where's Gunther going to get the extra $50 million to spend? I think that was the WhatsApp.
No, he said, what BS is he talking about? You know, that's what he's texting into smiley, you know, that's what he texted, you know. And back to more serious things is, it's I think it's just like the reality. We got hit by it, and people will realize it more. There will be sure some people have always got more, but more money, they can spend more, but maybe they're even better. But I think what our aim is not spending more money, to have a competitive F1 where in theory 10 teams can win. I know that will never happen that 10 teams can win, but at least that everybody's got a chance to compete. What I mean with that one, if you want to compete for fifth, that is what you should be competing for. But there should be more people being able to go on to go on merit than not just by luck, you know. And I think that would be good for everybody. Would be good for the fans. The fans love underdogs. I mean, you guys have got lots of to talk about as well. So I think it would help everybody. And I think we're getting closer. Still, the small teams have to do a good job because, as you said before, where is the 50 million, which I'm still behind? But in the moment, we are maybe more than 100 millions behind. So if we halve that, that's a good step in the right direction, you know.
Gunther, I want to ask both you and Martin, I wanted to ask you this as well, actually. I know Crofty and I would both be definitely 100% for it, but what would you say to having, say, 2 rounds at Silverstone? We've heard from Stuart Pringle this morning saying that he'd be open to having 2 rounds there. They may have to be behind closed doors. A lot of races might have to be to start with. Would you be up for having 2 races at Silverstone? If I start with you, Martin, I mean, for us, it's fantastic, but also for the teams, Gunther, is that a level playing field for you all, or is it not because it's going to suit some teams better? Mark?
I hope we can get back to having a crowd there ASAP, because they make a sporting event. And don't be sure that we'll be there, Rachel, because we might not be considered essential personnel if the teams are having to thin out who they're sending along, and it really is restricted that much. I mean, hopefully, you know, there's still a long way to go until we get to July. But yeah, I mean, we've got to somehow get a representative season away this year, which for me is 15 or more races. I mean, Senna and Schumacher won with 15 races. We think they're amazing champions. Jim Clark and Jackie Stewart and Graham Hill won with 10 races in the season. We think they're amazing champions. Sir Sterling Moss and Fangio were 6 or 7 races in the season. So I don't think we should get caught up on that, but we know from the financials that, you know, we need a certain amount of sanctioned fees and media fees and all that. So any which way we can get up and running, we're going to have to take. But I hope it's not weekend after weekend of, you know, tumbleweed going around the grandstands, but needs must. Sorry, I grabbed that one. Gunther, over to you.
Okay, I agree with Martin, but in the moment, I would be happy with one Silverstone at the date. Just happy that we have a race. If we can do, fine with me, no problem. But in the moment, if I would say, do you want 2 races there? I said, let's have one, and then see if we need to make a second one. But I'm not against a second one, but I would like to at least have one there. I mean, that would be already success in my books, because it's a very difficult time, and England is a little bit behind, or the UK a little bit behind with the coronavirus. I hope everything gets better, not only for us going racing, but for the people there. Obviously, that's more important than us going racing. But if you can have one, if you need to have a second one to get a few more races in, I'm not against it. We will do it. And it's one of the places, if you have 2 races, it's a logical one, because I would say 70% of the teams are based around there. So it should be there, so people at least can go home in the time in between, and they don't have to stay 3 weeks in another country just to wait to go racing again. So if it is a place, that would be nice.
Gunther, can we sorry, Croft, if I could just ask a question I want to ask that. So we were talking about money. What does a team have to pay if you furloughed some of your employees? I know you still got a top up there, but what about your engine contract, your tyres, your gearboxes? Is a team still having to pay out huge amounts of money without racing at the moment?
If I just would have the answer, no. It's one of the things we are negotiating in the moment, but what I told to our suppliers, it's too early until we have a calendar. It's no point that we discuss this, or it's not no point. We have to discuss to gonna readdress it when we know our calendar, because depending if you have 10 races, we don't need 3 engines, for example. It's all a little bit up in the air, but it will be rediscussed, and obviously the financials will be different. I mean, I have no intention if we race only a third or half the races, or 2/3 to pay the full price, because obviously they had no cost incurred, and everybody's in the same boat here. So I think we need to find a right compromise, or everybody gets hurt anyway, but that we spread the pain a little bit, of getting hurt, that not only the customers get hurt, but also the suppliers.
Rachel, I'm stunned here. On behalf of every single Formula One fan, I think Martin's been a bit too modest. I always thought Martin Brundle's grid walk was essential part of Formula One, and was essential staff, and would have to be there. We can't go racing without Martin Brundle's grid walk, even if he does.
The drivers would all run off.
But Martin, then I'm essential, because I'll catch them when they run off. So surely we're all essential.
I'd have to walk along with a 2-meter microphone or something to make sure I stayed away from them.
It works. That's exactly what needs to happen.
Now listen, Gunther, before we came to do this, obviously I'm going to do some research on you, but you've got, for people who don't know you, your CV is amazing. You started as a mechanic in rallying, but then Niki Lauda headhunted you. I mean, what a line to have on your CV.
No, it's just, I don't know if he headhunted me or if he just was looking for people, Niki. You don't know Niki is like, wakes up one morning, I go and phone this guy up. Somebody told me, that I think what he did, and we got on very well, and that made me come into Formula One, I think it's a lot easier than it sounds like, how Niki operated.
But then you ended up at Red Bull Racing as well. So for people who only know about Haas, who came into the sport in 2016, of course, you've got a much longer history with Formula One than that. What do you think have been the most challenging things you've seen during your time? Is this the most challenging time you've seen for Formula One?
Absolutely. Since I'm in it, absolutely, because the most challenging thing is we don't know what is going to happen. We still don't know when we go racing. We're discussing it here and now. What do you think? Are we going racing or not? So it could be that we have got another 6 months without racing. We don't know if we will get any money, because we cannot do what you are here to do. Even if you've got a financial crisis, you still have a plan. We need to go racing, do this, that, and the other. In the moment, we don't know a lot. I think we are now at the stage where we can see a little bit light at the end of the tunnel and see, hey, I think it looks like we go racing in summer, in July, but still it's very challenging. But for sure, it's the most challenging time since I'm in F1.
It's April 2014 when you first started this adventure with the Haas team, building it up, ready to race in 2016. How do you think it's gone? Are you satisfied? Do you think it's got greater potential ahead, Gunther?
Absolutely. I mean, if we can go through this one, I think we have got a good future going forward. I think we did a lot in the sport in the short time we are in there. A lot. I mean, in our little world, because we are not one of the big players here. We are a small player, but for a small team, we added something. So I think Haas has got a good future.
That's great to hear, because we started this season before any races got postponed with the threat of Gene Haas quite publicly saying, look, if we don't start this season well, we're going to have to look at our future in Formula One. But you think actually that the team has got a bright future and that Gene can be persuaded and you're going to be part of the furniture for a while to come yet?
Yes, I don't want to be part of the furniture. We want to be all over the place, not part of the furniture.
You'd be a scatter cushion then.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, but I think we are here to stay. I mean, for sure we have to see out this scenario here. But as I said, if we can get in what the plan is now, we are good for the year. And then I think I'm in the moment in touch with Gene. I wouldn't say every day, but almost every day, because there's nothing to be said. There's no point to speak with him, but he wanted to be involved in what is happening. Now it's getting a little bit easier, because at least we have got some vision what is happening, but he seems to be in a good place, and we just need to be diligent. And the budget cap, all this bringing the teams together and being competitive will help. And now we have to do a good job, So as I said before, I think we're here to stay.
Good.
And so I've got some questions for you from fans on social media. I'm going to start with the first one that says, how do you handle two drivers who both want to be number one? And I guess it's more than that, because you've got two very feisty drivers there. How do you handle them? And would you rather have a quiet life, or do you quite like the challenge?
No, I think I don't like quiet life, I mean, as you all know, I would be a lot less outspoken. I think I like the challenge. I think in every team, if you don't have a clear 1 and 2, this will always happen. It happened in other teams. It happens with us, and it's just like a difficult season like last year when the car is not up to speed. It's even more difficult for the drivers, because they want to show off, who is the better one, and then they fight even more. And then we got very unlucky. We always seem to be, when we had a good qualifying, we're always very close to each other, and then the first laps are always very challenging. So I wouldn't say it's just unlucky, but it's part of the game. And I rather have that problem than a driver which doesn't want to drive.
There's a follow-up to that as well, actually, saying why didn't you change the lineup last year at all? There were thoughts that, and the year before that even, that maybe you were going to change it. Why did you stick with the two of them?
I mean, it was a difficult decision, but Romain was with us from the beginning. If now you look back, the credibility we had in the beginning was very low for obvious reasons, and I'm not blaming anybody. Because all the new teams came in, they left pretty soon and were never any successful. So he took a chance. He believed in us, and we all know Grosjean. On a good day, he's very good. It's just there are not enough of them, of the good days. There are too many of bad ones, and he knows that. I don't have to tell him that, So he's a grown up. I told him many times enough that he believes it now, I guess, But it was very difficult, and the car was. We know the problems with the car. It seemed like we tried to find an excuse. The driver's fault. It wasn't their fault. They just tried to get the best out of it, and sometimes overdid it. Which again, maybe was that our fault or my fault to push them too hard instead of saying back down. I mean, the car is where it is, and so in the end we just decided, hey, let's bring in another unknown here. Let's fix the car, stay with the drivers, deal with it what you've got, and keep on going.
Great stuff. Listen, Gunther, it's been fabulous to have you with us this afternoon. Thank you for joining us on this podcast, and we hope we'll see you in person very soon somewhere. Look after yourself. From my side,
hope to see you soon, guys, and thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Thanks, Gunther.
See you later. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Gunther. Thank you. Croft, give us a quick plug for your watch along. What can we expect Wednesday night, 7:00?
So the watch along Wednesday night, Martin, myself, Ted Kravitz and Johnny Herbert sat down in 4 different locations to look back on the 1999 European Grand Prix. The race where the phrase "to finish first you have to finish" has never been highlighted more. It was a sensational race. I don't want to do any spoilers, but we were quite happy with the winner in the end. But that is Wednesday night, Sky Sports main event and Sky Sports F1 as well. And if you don't think that is your bag, cooking sausage rolls with Crofty, that's going to be unveiled on social media on Tuesday afternoon for anyone who fancies some fattening food.
Fantastic. Can't wait. Martin, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you,
Get back to making your house shine. And we will see you very soon. Thanks a lot. Plenty more content across the Sky platforms for you. There'll be another podcast on Wednesday. Don't forget that watch along, and lots more on the websites too. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you soon.